Hello everyone, TMMgamer here, and today I am bringing you another one of my FIFA 13 tutorials. Now this one is following on from the formation tutorial that I uploaded earlier this week on 4-3-1-2, and what I'm going to do today is focus on another very popular formation, 4-2-3-1. Now this is a formation that you see used all of the time in a host of game modes. In this particular game mode I'm using it playing as Borussia Dortmund, as you can see, and I'm playing against a guy who's using Arsenal in a head-to-head seasons mode. Now 4-2-3-1 is another very popular formation, and it's popular for a good reason. It's very flexible, it offers great defensive options, but also it maintains your attacking threat, because like I was saying about 4-3-1-2, flexibility is a really important thing when determining what formation you're going to choose, because you see some formations that are great one-trick ponies. They're great at either trying to swarm forward or they're great at counter-attacking, but if that plan fails you're going to be struggling. But the real good thing about this formation is its flexibility. However, it does have a few very important differences to 4-3-1-2. I'm just going to run through them now. The first and most obvious difference is you have wingers in this formation, so that takes a lot of pressure off your fullbacks, because when I was talking about 4-3-1-2, a lot of your play has to go through your fullbacks, because you've got a very narrow central three midfielders, and if you don't get those fullbacks up the pitch, you find yourself possibly getting overwhelmed and a little bit bogged down in the centre of the field. But the great thing about having this formation is you've got right and left centre attacking mids or wingers depending on how you want to play it, and what that does for you is it takes a lot of pressure off your fullbacks in attack, because if you want to get the ball wide you don't have to bring a fullback up all the way up the field. You can just pass it wide and there'll be someone there waiting for you, and that is something really useful to have, because it just means that you've got players upfield when you need them pretty much all of the time. Because one of the problems with 4-3-1-2 is it requires you wait a couple of seconds for your fullbacks to get up the field before your attack has the adequate width. But this formation really does enable you to get that width early and really maintain the width throughout the entirety of the match. So that's its one major advantage over 4-3-1-2. The other major advantage of this formation is the way the lines are set up, because in this formation you've just got a regular flat back four, but then you've got two centre defensive midfielders who sit in front of it. And these two players are really key to this formation, because there's multiple ways you can go about playing this formation. Some people like to have two tanks, like in the Claude Makelele role, for you guys who remember the former Real Madrid and Chelsea defensive midfielder. You can go that way, a pure ball winner who just wins the ball back, does a nice simple ball and move it on from there. A modern example of that, for example, is Cheikh Tiote at Newcastle. He is a great player at just putting a tackle in, keeping it simple, and then passing it to players like Yohan Cabaye in the Newcastle side, who are more technically gifted and can spray the passes. So that's one way you can do it. However, what I like to do whenever I play this formation is play slightly more creative holding midfielders, players in the mould of a Yaya Toure. Because by playing these midfielders who are slightly more technically gifted, you can keep the ball moving very nicely, because sometimes you play it to a limited ball winning midfielder and he doesn't really have the options. He needs to spread the play, but his passing ability isn't really there. So whether you want to go with two holding midfielders or two attacking midfielders in that position is really up to you, but I always like to find to have one really solid holding midfielder and then one more creative midfielder alongside him is a good balance. And those two guys act as American football quarterbacks. They sit in front of your backline, they control your play and really spread the play out from there. But the great thing is, as you move up the field, it only starts to get better, because once you move up into the three players behind the striker, this is the real advantage of this formation in attack, because you've got your striker who plays right up against the back line, but the three attacking midfielders, or the attacking midfielder and the winger behind the striker, depending on how you want to play it, they tend to sit in the gap between the midfield and the defence of your opponent. Now these little spaces on a football pitch are very hard to mark, and if you've played football in real life against a very good centre attacking midfielder, you know what I mean, because they drop into space and they just make it very difficult to pick up. So when you play the ball into these guys when you're on the attack, you often find that they're in 5 or 6 meters of space, and that isn't a lot, but it's all a good player needs to make something happen. You know, when you're playing a formation like 4-4-2, for example, you've got 3 pretty static lines of players, 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, 2 strikers, and they're quite rigid. The great thing about this formation is you play in between the lines of that a lot more often, so you're a lot more flexible on the attack, and that's a real bonus, because it's very, very difficult for any formation you come up against to pick up all of your attacking options, because like I was saying, you've got your one striker, and he tends to pin the centre-halves in position. So the centre-halves can't come up and put pressure on your centre-forwards and centre-attacking mids without leaving gaping holes behind them. And if they do that, one ball through can slip your striker in. So the defence can't push up as fast as they would like to close your centre-mids down. If the midfield drop deep, it gives your centre defensive mids even more space on the ball to spray the passes. And if you, like me, you like to play creative players in that position, you have the ability just to sit a guy deep, control the play, take your time, and just spray passes all over the park. So it gives your opponent a real conundrum of how to defend. Do I sit deep and give my opponent's midfielders too much space, or do I try and be aggressive and risk that ball over the top? You know, that flexibility of action is a really, really important thing on FIFA, because you see a lot of players who have a real strength, so they can defend in one way very, very well, or they can attack in one way very, very well. There's not too many players you see who can defend and attack in multiple different ways. So by having this formation, which is very, very tactically flexible, it enables you to keep probing, and if your opponent defends one thing well, you can switch back. And the great thing is, if you keep up a variety of attacking plays, it keeps your opponent guessing. You know, tactically flexible formations are always the way to go, because if you're playing, for example, a 5-2-1-2, you can only counter-attack, and if your opponent stops that, you're screwed. In this formation, if your opponent stops you running down the flank, it doesn't matter. You can pass it into your centre attacking mid in the middle, and he can control the play. And having a centre forward or a centre attacking mid in FIFA 13, or just any FIFA game, really is a fantastic thing, because like I was explaining about the centre attacking mids who play slightly wider, that central of the 3 behind the striker really does act as your orchestrator when you're going forward. You've got the 2 guys sitting behind him who are nice and solid, and they can spray the passes wide, but your centre forward is just concentrated solely on going forward. Now, a great example of players like this, for example, are Santi Cazorla at Arsenal, you know, or Mario Götze at Dortmund. In this formation, I play Götze on the right and Marco Reus in the centre, but you could quite easily swap those guys around and play Götze in the middle and Reus on the wing, or Blaszczykowski on the wing. And the great thing about having a player in that position who's technically gifted is that he can control the play from further up the field. So if your opponent decides to push up and put pressure on your 2 holding midfielders, one small pass through will give it to your centre attacking mid in the middle of the field, and they can really do whatever they want. They can pass the ball around, they can put the striker through, they can knock it wide to one of your wide players, they can knock it back to your centre defensive mid if he's under pressure, and they can really control your attacking play. So you've got all of these midfielders in different positions, in positions that are very, very hard to mark, and if you've got a decent set of players, you really can pass your opponents to death. And this is the formation I like to use on career mode. I'm currently doing a career with Aston Villa, and I've bought Christian Eriksen, who's currently at Ajax, to play in that position, and he's a similar sort of player, you know, small, very, very good on the ball, very, very good at passing and dribbling, and very technically gifted. And by playing someone like that in that position, you can really control the tempo of your game, and it's very, very difficult to deal with. But you know, the great thing about this formation is it's not just a potent attacking force, it's nice and tight defensively, because you've got your flat back 4, like I was saying earlier. But one of the big advantages this formation has over 4-3-1-2 is it has 2 people on either side, you know, either side of the pitch. You know, 4-3-1-2 only has 1 fullback and then no one in front of him on the wing. And unless you have very, very mobile central midfielders, occasionally your fullbacks can get isolated. Or if you've been attacking and your fullbacks have got up the field, you can get isolated on the counter-attack. As they've pushed up too far, it will leave a big, big space behind. But because you've got two players on either flank in this formation, it's very, very rare that you see yourself get caught on the counter-attack. So it really does offer a great balance between attack and defence. And like I was saying earlier, those two central midfielders who sit in front of the back four, not only do they help you control your attacking play, they stop people from just simply barnstorming through the middle. Because you see a lot of formations, especially the ones I'm thinking of now with 5 in midfield, they try and swamp the centre of the park, try and dominate that area, and once they've controlled the midfield, then they can move forward. These two guys sitting in front of your back four are going to stop that from happening. You know, it takes a very, very good player to break two defensive midfielders down and then get through to the back four and then break the centre halves down. You know, that's 4 players they've got to beat, and the vast majority of players in FIFA can't do that. You know, the whole core of my defensive tactic is putting people in the way, and the vast majority of players, even very, very good players, aren't going to be able to regularly beat 3, 4, 5 players in a row to get a shot at target. So it's just that brilliant balance between defence and attack which makes this formation very, very potent. But there is one problem with it, and it's more of an Ultimate Team thing, because in Ultimate Team, when you use this formation, the two flanking midfielders who play further up the pitch are classed as centre attacking mids and not wingers. And that's a problem for the chemistry, because what I ideally like to do in this formation is play one centre attacking mid and play 2 wingers either side of him. But if you do that in Ultimate Team, you take a little bit of a chemistry hit. So that's one reason why I'm a little bit uncertain to play this in Ultimate Team, because 100 chemistry is absolutely crucial, and people don't really understand how important it is on Ultimate Team. So if you do use this in Ultimate Team and go the wingers route, which is what I would prefer to do, you can risk having a little bit of a chemistry hit. But if you get to a stage where all of your players are in the chemistry and you've got a superb manager, you can get away with it. So just to conclude, 4-2-3-1 really is a brilliant formation. It's fantastic in defence. It's great going forward. Occasionally, the only other criticism I could bring up about this formation is if your striker isn't a really good all-round player, you can sometimes see that big, powerful centre-halves will dominate him, put him under pressure, and when your striker isn't able to bring the ball down and redistribute it, it puts even more pressure on your midfielders and your wingers to do something about it. So that's the only thing. It is good to play with 2 up front. I always feel more comfortable in a formation that has 2 strikers, but the problem with that is there are very, very few formations in Ultimate Team, especially that offer the benefits that this formation does. I mean, 4-4-2, 3-5-2, all of these formations are good, but in my opinion, this is the go-to formation. If you haven't tried this out, I really do recommend it, because the vast majority of other successful formations are just slight deviances on this one. So I really would recommend, once again, if you guys haven't tried this out, go and start a career mode or play a few head-to-head seasons matches with this formation to try it out. It's really, really flexible. It's very, very potent going forward, but at the same time, it's nice and tight defensively. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this formation tutorial. If you have, it would make a big difference to the channel if you could just click the like button, because it helps more people come and find the video and more people come and enjoy it. So that's a massive bonus for me if you could do that. But guys, once again, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed the video, and as always, have a great day.